that when people find you, they feel like buying. I want to talk about why every word pays rent and what you can do to be able to really take someone from not knowing you exist to finding you and actually wanting to pay you. So there's this Nielsen study and it said clarity in messaging increases conversions by up to 200%. I think it could be a bajillion percent. And I saw one of her ads and I actually stopped my scroll, like my eyes opened big and I was like, whoa, oh my God, I have to listen to this. I'm going to be honest. One of my secret weapons is that I'm so good at messaging. Am I perfect? No. But have I worked my dang booty off to really figure out how to get clear on my messaging and be able to pull that clarity out of my clients? Yes. In fact, I was actually at one of our VIP days in our top level program, which is exclusively for 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. And when the client was doing her testimonial, I was like, what is one thing that you are really glad that you got out of this VIP day that kind of makes what we do different? And she said, messaging. She said, you are really good at being able to be clear and concise and figure out what is the message that you need as your like business's core message. And then what messages do you need in what phase and in what orders so that people will convert. So we had made a bunch of sales page videos using my AI that I have trained so beautifully. So I have a sales page video script. I have ad scripts. We're really working on messaging. And messaging is something that takes time and intention. But when you have the depth of experience in something, it's almost like when you sit down with a therapist, they can pull out some of these stories and they see it so clearly. And it's the kind of the same thing with your business. When you have this experience and this depth and you're like, this is my angle, when we work together consistently, we can really figure out how to pull out your messaging. So what I wanted to do is give you some tools today so that you can really think about your messaging differently and be able to make some traction and actually have some really good messages and messaging that when people find you, they feel like buying. Because the only reason that people find you and see your ads and choose not to buy is because they do not feel like it. And the thing that can really change their behavior and their perception of the need for wanting what you have to offer is actually what you say and how you say it, which is your messaging. Which for those of you that haven't been in the challenge before, for our Win with Paid Ads challenge, day 1 is about messaging. It is what you should say and not say in your ads and why. And I'm going to give you some gold today. And it's just like touching the tip of the iceberg for so much of what we can talk about when it comes to messaging. And that's actually why in the Win with Paid Ads challenge, which I will link to below, we go in order for a reason. We do messaging on day 1, setting and where you place your ads on day 2, targeting on day 3, testing on day 4, and scaling and profiting on day 5 for a reason. So let's dive in. And after you get your ticket, make sure you click below this link to this podcast or YouTube. And by the way, if you're listening on the podcast or YouTube channel, one thing that would mean the world to me and my team is for you to leave a 5-star review. And our goal for this year is actually hitting 200 5-star reviews. It's a goal that we've had from the moment we started our podcast. And so you being able to contribute to that, if you've gotten value and it's been beneficial to you to listen to the episodes, I would just from the bottom of my heart be so grateful for you to leave a review. That's really how more people can find this too. Don't worry, we'll run ads to it, but we would love your support too, because I know how much reviews mean. And we actually did a podcast episode about testimonials and reviews and the power of them. And there is just so much power in them. So I believe what goes around comes around. And when you share good, you get good, which is nice. All right, so let's talk about messaging. And, the reason I actually wanted to do this episode was because Hormozy said something recently and it like stuck with me and I can't forget it. He said, every word should pay rent. And when I thought about that, I was like, yes, every single word matters because every second matters because there's so many things that we're distracted by in our lives. So being able to say, wow, I want to keep watching or listening, it all comes down to what you are saying and how you are saying it. And so I want to talk about why every word pays rent and what you can do to be able to really take someone from not knowing you exist to finding you and actually wanting to pay you. So the first piece of this is why messaging matters more than anything else. So 65% of the lift that you're going to get from your brand and your exposure is not just from the creative or the targeting. It is actually specifically from the wording. So there's this Nielsen study and it said clarity in messaging increases conversions by up to 200%. I think it could be a bajillion percent. Like at the end of the day, the clearer you are, the more clear they will know, your target audience will know that you are for them. And then you've heard this before, but ads that are emotionally resonant, so the message you're delivering with conviction, actually drives up to 3 times higher purchase intent. I remembered an ad that I got recently, and it was actually from one of my clients that has done our mastermind and our VIP days. And she is just killing it. Like her business, she had her best November ever. And like every month has just grown. And I saw one of her ads, and I actually stopped my scroll, like my eyes opened big, and I was like, whoa. And I don't even have a pet yet. Don't judge me. I love cats, but I had a cat for a long time, and then I lost him, and he went deaf, and it was so sad, but he was so sweet, and his name is Whiskers. And so eventually we'll go get another pet for sure, but we also have 2 little humans right now. So although I don't have a pet, she was talking about dogs in this ad, and even though I'm not a dog parent yet, I was like, oh my God, I have to listen to this. Because she's like, what if the dog had blank? It was just the conviction with which she spoke had me. My little ears were perking up. So that is emotionally resonating messaging. Because people, what's that saying I always say? People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. The way that you care and the way that you convey is through your messaging and how you're saying it. People buy when they feel understood, and people do things. People do not buy because they understand. They buy because they feel understood. And your messaging is the emotional and the psychological driver behind every conversion and every reason that someone decides to move forward because of how you said what you said and how it resonated with them. Because I have seen the perfect ad setup. I've seen the best targeting, and then I've seen a terrible ad with a terrible message that's so confusing and unclear. And I'm like, that's why. Like, it is not that you didn't follow the method right. It's all set up properly. But when people in the right audience saw your message, they scrolled right past. They were like, nope, this ad is not for me. And that is exactly why. And that's a problem. And so really going from how can you get people to feel understood with the exact words you say, like for them to cut like a knife and be like, ooh, that was it. That is working on your messaging. So the last little reason that I wrote down is why messaging matters is because ads don't fail because of the ads. They fail because of the lack of positioning and honestly just the clarity and really the specificity. Like if I could say anything, it's like specifically, why are you better and why do people work with you over anyone else? That's what we're working for. So your words are all you have. So you don't get an hour with ads to explain yourself, in my opinion. You get 2 seconds before someone scrolls and says, nope, this is or isn't for me. And you get 85 characters in a headline and you get a sentence. Like that is what you get to break through the noise. Like how quickly in 1 sentence or in 2 seconds can someone see you and be like, I'm continuing watching this. That hook, that pull towards you, it all comes down to your messaging. Words do the heavy lifting. They create the emotion, they create the clarity, they create the urgency, and they create that specificity that leads to them understanding what makes you different than anybody else. Because people can copy your words, but they cannot copy how you say them because you are you and no one else can be you. That's what's magical. So the third thing I wrote down was the power of clarity and simplicity. And you've heard me say this because I think it was Brene Brown. She said, clear is kind. And for me, it's clarity converts. If you confuse them, you lose them. And most people are overcomplicating and trying to sound too smart. You've heard me say this before, but please talk at a 3rd grade level in your ads. Keep it clear, keep it concise, and ask yourself, is this sentence needed? Is this next phrase or word needed? And you can honestly give ChatGPT your ad script, give ChatGPT everything that's on your page and say, can you rewrite this and say the same thing with this 3rd grade level? Reading level. And one of the things that, we're working on and that we've done a really good job on and we're training our AI bot on is messaging and how to create custom messaging for each person. Because you may have like your personality and how you talk and who you are and how you are is different than me. And so when you are talking to ChatGPT, you can't just say, make me an ad script, make me this and use this framework. You have to actually tell it, use this framework, but what makes you different? That's why you can have everybody's ChatGPT, but how do you know how to inform it about what makes you different? That's what you got to work on. And so let's talk about that. So the way that you do that is using the messaging formula that I teach to my clients. So this is what I teach in my programs. And I normally don't come in here and teach everything in my programs, but I'm going to do that today. So get ready. So it's who, why, what, how. Who is your identifiability, okay? Your ability to identify the people that you are speaking to. So your identifiability in the who is who are you talking to? What is the identity that you are calling out? And who is that specific person? So maybe you teach Pilates owners, maybe you teach realtors, maybe you teach home buyers, maybe you work with videographers, maybe you are looking for someone who is just wanting to shop and you're targeting a bargain shopper. I just wanted to take one quick second and remind you that you are invited to the Win with Paid Ads Challenge. So it's 5 days and you learn the 5 most important things for you to be able to actually win with your ads in your business. Day 1, messaging what you say. Day 2, setting where you say it. Day 3, targeting who you're getting your ads in front of. Day 4, testing how you improve your ads. And day 5, scaling and profiting, which is ultimately what you really want, right? So click the link below this video for you to join the Win with Paid Ads Challenge and make sure you get your platinum ticket because I'll be able to look at your business and give you personalized feedback. Click the link below. Let's get back to the video. So who is identifiability? Why is credibility? What is opportunity? And how is accessibility? So let me explain. Who is identifiability? Who you are talking to, identifying that person. Why is credibility, which is why specifically should they listen to you? I actually had a conversation today with someone who was considering buying one of our programs. I had a conversation with her this morning. And one of the first things I started with is, so here is our credibility and making sure that she knows why she can even trust me on everything else that I say. I'm like, we've spent $200 million on ads. We've helped our clients make millions and millions of dollars. We do more than just one type of ad. All these different things. I was just giving the credibility of the results and the experience. Because people have to hear that credibility on why to listen to you, and some of you are delaying it. So identifiability, credibility, why are you qualified? What is the opportunity, which is what are you selling? What do they have? What do you offer? What's the transformation? What problem do you solve? And then how is the accessibility? How can they access that? How do they get started? What is the next step? How is this opportunity accessible to them? So it's who, why, what, how, which is identifiability, credibility, opportunity, and accessibility. That is the framework that I teach inside my programs of you being able to create a message that uses and incorporates all 4 of those so beautifully. So you can sit down and map that out. So how are you going to find your angle and your tagline? So messaging is not just cute copy. It is specificity and identity. And if you really think about that, that can change everything. So for us, we're the Paid Ads Academy. We are the go-to advertising training program for entrepreneurs on their teams. We teach you and your team how to become findable so that you can, or how to win with paid ads so that you can become findable. That is our tagline. And sometimes we'll say so that you don't have to outsource, so that you can bring the paid ad skill in-house so you can create revenue today and every day. So my specificity is entrepreneurs and small business owners. The identity that we sell is the Rainmaker. The Rainmaker is defined as someone with an unusual level of skill that brings an unprecedented amount of revenue to a company. That is the Rainmaker. So that's our identity. Our specificity is exactly what we do. And who we're targeting is the entrepreneur, small business owner that's just getting started all the way to 8 figures because we have clients that span between all of those. That specificity and identity is what has created the clarity in our messaging. Specificity plus identity equals clarity. So you need an angle that slices through the noise. And one of the things that I want you to work on creating is a tagline so that your ideal customer instantly thinks, that is for me. That's me. And I'll give you some examples of how I troubleshooted that with 2 different clients and what we created because it was stinking good. I have more examples like this, but then this would be a 5-hour episode. So let's use our example, Brett. So Brett is a therapist. And he has a 24 therapists now he's been able to hire because he's getting such cheap ads since working with us on Google Ads. So he wanted to create a workshop, and he wanted to create a workshop for entrepreneurs who are having challenges in their marriage. And so his original message, which was a little bit unclear that we were playing with, was his workshop was going to be called The Business of a Connected Marriage. You solved a lot in life. Now let's solve the conflict in your marriage. Okay? So I read that to you. It just sounds a little bit generic. The business of a connected marriage. You've solved a lot in life. Now let's solve the conflict in your marriage. So here is what he and I worked on together. We called it the Marriage Workshop for Business Owners, a free workshop for entrepreneurs who know that when your relationship grows, your business can too. Way more clear, way more specific, and instantly identifies the who. Here's another example of my client, Emily. She's a friend and also a client in the top tier program. She said her workshop, which went well, was called Capacity to Cash Flow. And what I encouraged her to consider was regulate to elevate. So her capacity to cash flow was cute and it was clever, but it wasn't as clear. It doesn't say what she does or who it's for, and it didn't have an emotional anchor. Whereas regulate to elevate, paired with our deeper like clarity line that we worked on, was how nervous system regulation leads to the elevation of your life, body, relationships, and business. Regulate to elevate. That is really talking about the payoff and how you specifically get there. That works because it is physical, it is emotional, it is actionable, and it instantly signals the transformation. It shows the how, which is nervous system regulation, and the what, which is the elevation and the result, and it's memorable. That's what you want. And so that is like 2 examples of how we took something that sounded okay, but really was able to hone in and make it so simple and easy to say. So last few things for you is consistency. Your messaging. Here's the thing. I see people have great messaging in their ads and then their landing page is completely confusing. It's like hard to navigate. It's not clear. It's like, wait, did they do this? Is this for me? Oh, they might not do my type of business. It's like your landing page gives people every excuse to think, I don't know that that's for me. So your messaging has to last your landing pages, or match your landing pages. And so that mismatch is what can create distrust. And distrust is really, really hard to build back. So your biggest mistake could be that your ad talks about one thing and the landing page talks about something else. And that creates that instant distrust because your messaging has to be consistent across your ads, your landing pages, your emails, your sales page videos, your thank you page videos, your funnels, your angle, your headline, and your promise should be identical from the ad to the landing page. So if Brett's ad says marriage workshop for business owners and the landing page says something like the disconnection is fueling the distrust, it's like, wait, what? Is that even for entrepreneurs? Maybe it's not for me. So don't take any creative detours. Just be specific and consistent. All right, next thing. Here's why most people get their messaging wrong and why you might be doing it is because you're trying to be any of the following. You're trying to be too fancy. You're trying too hard to sound smart. You're talking about the features of what you do and not the outcome of what you do. You're trying to reach everyone instead of someone. And you're worrying about being creative instead of being clear. And you're talking about you and yourself and not the buyer. Messaging is not copywriting. It is positioning. It is identity. And it is a feeling. It is not just copywriting, which is why this is one of the things that I believe is that it's going to take someone. I know there's great copywriters out there. Don't get me wrong. You cannot have someone else write your copy until you freaking do the work to become good at your messaging so that you can actually have someone take it over. And so often I see people like, I just want somebody to do my copywriting. I'm like they're like, I have a great copywriting expert, and everybody raises their hand. And I'm like, I love you. And the reason you're successful is because you've clarified your messaging. These people haven't. One of the best gifts I did was write my own book and honestly prepare and do all these podcasts because it helped me get clear on my own messaging so that I could convey to you what you should be doing too. The other piece about your messaging is it needs to weave in your story. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story on how I got so good at messaging. So I got my messaging wrong for so long. So many of you have heard that I used to be Marketing Matters. And even though all of that is trademarked, which is good because no one can go do Marketing Matters right now, I got my messaging wrong because marketing was an overstatement. And that is one of the quickest ways that you lose distrust is you overstate what you can do and have to offer. And when you overstate, people hesitate. And that's the last thing you want. And so I did a lot of work and paid multiple 6 figures to have VIP days on messaging and words and being able to hear other people and how they use hooks and how they frame and what their messaging is. And so being able to really jack up my messaging pretty bad at the beginning and being willing to like start over, even though I had invested and leaned in and I was so sold on it, it was one of the hardest things because I fought for what wasn't working because I was like, this will work. And I finally was like, it was wrong. And when I pivoted my messaging, that is when everything changed for me and my business. And so the process that I went to get out of changing from Marketing Matters to Paid Ads Academy and Paid Ads Coaching was such a journey. And it taught me so much because I can't tell you how many months and months and months and days and nights I lost sleep trying to figure out what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. And doing the work and creating the book and creating the sales messages and the emails and doing my own messaging work is what led me here. And I think that's why I can see so clearly. It's kind of like why we learn from people at the gym. If you're trying to do bodybuilding, you probably want to work with somebody who's done it, right? They've done the work, they've been through it. You want to learn from them. And I feel like when it comes to messaging, going through someone who really underwent some construction when it comes to messaging is probably who you want to learn from, if I'm being honest. All right, so I got my messaging wrong. I didn't understand how powerful the emotional clarity would be. Y'all, I gotta say this. Robert is filming right now this episode, and I just banged my hand on this chair, and his eyes just jumped out because you can hear it on the audio. I'm certain he's laughing right now. We're keeping this in, Robert. Don't edit it out. So thankful to have you. It's so funny. Until you hang out with people, you don't realize how weird you are and how many annoying things you do until someone stares at you and you're like, you're doing it again. And I'm like, got it. I just get excited, Robert. All right, let's keep going. So I wrote copy that didn't sound good. It didn't convert. And I don't know if y'all know this story, but it was on one of my podcast episodes. I was so frustrated because I was getting a lot of quality messages from my ads, but I wasn't able to have the message to guide them ultimately to a decision. And that's also work I did. And I did sales training with the sales girls, my friend Macy. And what I've learned is so much of your ads, it is a sales message. It is guiding people to a decision. It is communication. And you being clear and really working on that and developing it will allow you to sell better. Because if you don't even know what you're saying and why you're saying it, you're definitely going to have a hard time selling. So getting clear on that and being able to test that with ads so that you can figure out quickly what is working and what's not. That's what ads can do, is speed up your learning on your messaging. All right, so did the work. Yeah, and it's just the more I honed into my messaging and stopped being so scared. Gosh, for so long, I was scared to say, hey, if you have an 8-figure business, I can help you. And guess what I didn't do? Attract 8-figure clients. And then I was like, wait, oh my gosh, 8 figures. I'm just saying, like, all of my clients had minimum 8-figure budgets on their ads for the year. So it's like, I know that I can grow a business that is doing that in total revenue, and that was just part of their ad budget. And so it was just one of those things when if you don't believe in yourself, you like can't find your messaging. So there's got to be something where you begin to say, my most strong, confident, powerful version of myself. What does she say? What does she believe? What is her message? And who does she want to serve? That's the messaging that you can write out. His or her, whoever you are. It's that type of message. What matters to him or her or you or whoever you're serving, and just speaking to them so clearly. So in summary, your ads don't work oftentimes because your words don't work. Messaging is the true competitive advantage. Be clear over clever. Be specific over broad. Be emotional over simply just informational. Be identity driven versus just feature driven. And remember that consistency creates conversions. Your words are all you have, so make every single one of them count, because like Alex Hormozy said, every word pays rent. And if you want to make a dent in your revenue and in your goal that you have for this year, you've really got to hone in to your messaging, which is why that's day 1 of the Win with Paid Ads Challenge. So I'd love to meet you and talk with you live. Click the link below. Who knows what? Click the link below this video. And I would love to see you in the Win with Paid Ads Challenge. And otherwise, I will see you on the next episode. So go advertise your name, make it rain, and I'll see you soon.